Welcome to the Bamboo Podcast, where we interview a range of guests about self-care, infant care, and relationships during the perinatal period. We are your hosts, Leah
and Kaila.
In today's episode, we chat with Jude and Alysha, who are two amazing mothers who volunteered in the Mummy Buddy program trial. Jude and Alysha recount their experience about providing support to new mothers while also sharing their own personal journey of motherhood, which at times was isolating and a difficult road to navigate for both women, particularly when there's so much information and sometimes conflicting information out there. They discuss what strategies worked for them. Throughout, you'll hear how both women had difficult and isolating times, but they have become more confident mothers due to their personal experiences and now advocate for the use of perinatal peer support programs.
For some context, the Mummy Buddy program was a peer volunteer support program established in Western Australia. 47 first-time mothers in the third trimester of pregnancy were paired with mentors who completed training focused on building skills to increase parenting confidence. The trial was very successful as 90% of the first-time mums agreed or strongly agreed that the program had helped their confidence as a mother. And as you will hear in today's podcast, some of the paired mums have maintained friendships years on. Welcome, Jude and Alysha. We can't wait to hear about your experiences supporting new mums in the Mummy Buddy program, as well as the pearls of wisdom you can share with us going through your own parenting journeys. So to get started, how did you get involved in the Mummy Buddy program?
Sure. I actually dove into my emails yesterday to actually find out how I got involved, and I'm pretty sure a friend of mine found an article on Facebook, and she sent it to me, and she said, Alysha, you'd be really good at this, because she had just had a baby about this just after I had my second, and she went through a few things that I went through, and I kind of just sort of gave her a little bit of advice and a little bit of like how I felt when I went through what she was going through. And she said to me, I reckon you should do this. And I was like, nah, no one wants to hear from me. You know, everyone else has got their own mum, they've got their own friends. And my husband, I spoke to him about it, and he was like, you should really do it. So I actually got involved with, I emailed Brian, and I put my name forward, and that was back in November of 2017, I think it was.
It's so lovely that she recommended you, that you hadn't seen it, but then someone pointed out that you'd be really good to help other mums.
Yeah, it was I felt quite nice about that I'd helped her, and I thought, oh, I like helping people, so why not?
Amazing. And Jude, what was your experience joining the program?
I'd experienced a fair bit of postpartum depression, anxiety, stress, and all the mood disorders.
I'm still experiencing them.
Yeah. And that was with my first child, and because I'm from overseas, so I didn't have any family support, and my partner was from the southwest, so we hardly had any family. And so there were a couple of things. Something came up one day on my Facebook or on Instagram or on LinkedIn. I cannot remember which social media page. And that was advertising for volunteers. And I thought, that'd be really good. At that time, I was already involved with SANS, WA. So I was doing some support with moms going through anxiety after having experienced a perinatal loss. So that was just, helping a one-on-one mom. That was just rang all my bells pretty much. And I just really wanted to get involved. So I did.
Jude and Alysha, what would you share with new mothers about the transition to motherhood? So from both your own experience as mothers, as well as your role as a mentor in the Mummy Buddy program.
Well, I think you said it right there. It's a transition period, and it's just a constant adjustment, transition period. And when you think that you've got it, then they go through a different sort of leap. And even now, my daughter's in year 4 and my son's in year 1. And now we're learning, their personalities are developing, they're making friends with other people. And even I'm still adjusting every day. Every day is new, learning something new every day, trying to sort of change your way of thinking every day. Like you think, oh, today's great. And then the next day they've had a bad day, and you have to kind of change hats and go, all right, how do I how do I deal with this now? So yeah, it's just constant adjustment, transitional period. I think that's what like parenthood should be called. It should just be called adjustment period, because that's what it is. And like you can't go into parenthood going, oh yeah, I've read all the books, I know how it's going to be. You don't know what it's going to be like until you hit the ground running that day, when you're thrown in the deep end, you're given a baby with no instruction manual, and you just kind of have to wing it, I guess, for the next, like 20 years. So yeah, just my advice is to mums coming in is just don't expect anything, just go with the flow day by day.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, as in come with an open mind.
Yes.
I think when we talk about parenthood, we think about a fixed state and identity. It is a transition. It is something that's constantly ever changing, and yeah, it challenges us. But and also when we don't know who we'll have as a child, and we forget a lot that we are dealing with a human. This is not just a baby. He's a human. He or she or they have a personality of their own, and it's creating a new relationship with someone that you have to care for 100%. It's really challenging, sometimes rewarding, sometimes not. I think we should have more antenatal classes that talk about the reality of being a parent. I think we're sugarcoating it a lot. Oh, yeah. And that is what is setting not people up for failure. That's not a failure at all. It's just we need to know that's the reality, that it's just, just another step in someone's life. And just like in any step, in any change, that brings good emotions, bad emotions, and it's okay. And that we just need to get the support that we need. That's all it is. But yeah, as far as advice, the more you expect or you think of something, the more you'll be disappointed, I would say. And don't take for granted the other people. Your experience is your relationship experience with your baby. And it doesn't mean that everyone is the same and that everyone will have a bad experience or that everyone will have a good experience. Just respect everyone, basically.
Beautifully said, Jude. I really agree with that. Particularly that when you have a baby, you really need to learn how to interact with each other. I know the baby's been in your belly for so long, but when it comes out, it does have a different personality, and we just need to see how we change as women, but also then how to connect with that child. Because I've got 3 children and all 3 were different as newborns. And just being able to sit with that and accept that that's, potentially their little personalities coming out, but being able to be quite flexible with that as well. What were some of the strategies or some things that you used to cope with that transition from being pregnant into motherhood? I was just thinking if anything sticks out in your mind about, certain things that you might have done maybe for self-care, or certain things that you might have done or got your partner to do, or just to support yourself.
Or perhaps even things that you didn't utilize at the time, but now have become apparent that it would have been helpful.
I've got plenty of those in reflection. I wrote a whole bunch of stuff down yesterday that I wish that I had done. One of them, so overwhelming, is it's okay to put the baby down for 5 minutes somewhere safe in the cot or in the bassinet and just walk off for 5 minutes. If it's becoming so overwhelming and you're running out of ideas, just put the baby down safely, go make a cup of tea, go have a shower, and just take 5 minutes of breaths and just kind of let it wash over you, and then go back with like fresh eyes, new approach. That was one thing I remember doing, is just like, oh, what do I do? Put them down, walk away, have a think, come back. My other strategies about coping is you definitely got to have to ask for help. And when you're offered the help, take it. And you got to talk about how you're feeling. Like it's nothing to be embarrassed about. I remember, especially with my second, I knew something was wrong when I didn't even want my mum to come over. And I didn't even want to say it out loud because I found it so embarrassing that I've already had one. Now I've got a second baby, and I don't even want to see my mum. So that's when I was like, I think I need to go to the doctor. I need to go talk to somebody about how I'm feeling, because I know that those thoughts are not normal. What else? Take opinions and advice lightly, because everyone's going to give you their 2 cents. And again, another information overload. You pick and choose what you take. You can use all different types of information and advice. Use it how you want to use it, if you want to use it. And I guess at the end of the day, do what works for you. I say that because I read a book, and I kind of took that book as gospel, and it got to the point, mixed with my anxiety, I got to a point where the book said I wasn't allowed to pick her up, and I took that as that was the word. And I got to a point where I was afraid to pick up my own child because the book told me not to pick her up. How silly is that? But that was my anxiety kicking in, going, I don't want to start a habit. Oh, she's crying. I don't want to pick her up. The book said not to pick her up.
Can I ask, I'm so inquisitive about this one, was the book a sleep book?
Yes, it was.
Actually, every mother reads that book before they have children. And I actually have a friend that read that book, and the obstetrician saw it. Actually, it might have been the pediatrician saw it in the hospital room and said, throw that in the bin.
Yeah. Well, because when my daughter was born, I had a lot of trouble feeding, and she ended up having to go on a feeding routine. Yeah, and then I think it was my cousin, she had had a baby like not long before me. She's like, read this book. And so because we were already in like a feeding routine, the sleep thing, and because of my anxiety, I needed to know what was happening, and I can't even describe like how silly it's saying it out loud sounds so silly, but it just kind of, I thought, oh, if I get her in a sleep routine, and then, I can plan my day. And I think it did more harm than good. Yes, she slept. But I remember I think she was 7 months old, and I used to be so afraid to take her out because I didn't know what was coming. And I remember one day she woke up early from a nap, and I thought, I'm going to do it. And I packed, by this time I had started bottle feeding. I'd packed some bottles, I'd packed some food, picked her up from her cot, put her in the car. I drove up the freeway, went to a shopping centre up the freeway, walked around the shops, pulled in, I had a coffee, sat her in front of me, fed her some food. And that was the first time I actually felt like I was winning. And I had put the book aside, and I'd actually was a mum that day. I'd gone on like my own little instinct. I'd made my own decision. Don't take everything that you read as gospel.
Those new moms, when we support them, I feel like the best thing we can tell them is that whatever choice to have that space, that what do you want and what do you think? And even if their values are different from ours, and sometimes it is challenging. That was certainly my experience with the Mummy Buddy program, because the mummy I was paired with had very different opinions in terms of birth, in terms of feeding, in terms of breastfeeding, in terms of vaccination. So it was the best experience for me to say, when we say, we're tolerant and we are non-judgmental, well, this time I actually had to be like that and to put my own feelings aside. So it was a really good exercise for me, because it's not about me. She was having a baby. I wasn't. It's her life. It's her baby's life. She's a mom. She's making the decisions. And because so many people around us are judgmental, because we're human, that's just what we do, unfortunately, and some people can't keep their mouths shut. Having this one person that you can tell anything and will not judge you is crucial. I think it's absolutely crucial, because it's the safe space.
Jude, I really agree with what you say. It's about not judging other people, but then also potentially as a mother, not judging yourself. And really that importance of finding your own tribe and finding those people that are going to advocate for you. And I'm wondering how your experiences might have been different if you had like a mummy buddy for yourself that was non-judgmental, that you could have spoken to at that time.
I think it would have changed a bit. You know, you have those middle of the night conversations, someone, you know, if they're up as well, or, you know, first thing in the morning, I've had a really bad night, this is how I'm feeling, and just having someone sort of, yeah, just kind of tell you you're doing okay. And yeah, this like non-judgmental, non-biased opinion, you know, not your mum, not your sister, not your husband, someone that you can tell everything to. And yeah, just get an honest feedback back from them, just an honest bit of advice. And I think maybe that would have made me sort of make my decisions a little quicker. And I just wish that I'd listened to my own gut and made my own decisions. Yeah, it would have helped. Definitely would have helped having a mummy buddy.
Jude, I really like
sure.
what you said that you know, giving the mum that space, even just to think about how she would like to go about making these decisions. I think that's a rare thing to have, a bit of space to do that and have that autonomy, and someone encouraging that.
It's almost like a personal advocate, really. Like I wish I'd had you know, someone that would listen to me and who would say, that's what she wants and that's what it is. And then no one could say anything, you know, just this extra validation, which I didn't really get. So that's why if you're especially if you're in a depressive state or a highly anxious state, I mean, it's already the nature of it. You can't make decisions. You're constantly doubting yourself. So having someone that you can say, look, I'm scared of him stopping breathing, for example, you know, without having the judgment again, that would have been, or making you sound like you're crazy, because it's really tempting when you're someone around, you're like, oh, don't be silly. Why are you going that? Come on. She'll be right. Attitude, you know, just someone to validate. Okay, she's feeling this. She's feeling it. That's end of story. You know, we don't need any opinion about that. That's what it's like. That's what she wants. She doesn't want to breastfeed because it's painful, because she doesn't know what's going on. Yeah, it would have been amazing to have that. Absolutely amazing. That's why I keep doing it to other moms, because I feel like they need it. They need someone to tell them it's okay.
Yeah, really well said. I was wondering about something that was mentioned earlier, which is feeding. What were your experiences either breastfeeding or bottle feeding or a combination of both? And how did you come to those decisions?
I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how like breastfeeding looked so easy for so many people. And I wish I'd given up on it sooner. I breastfed my child for the first 13 months because he did not want anything else, because he's a determined child and he has not changed, by the way. It was not pleasant. It was like looking back, of course, my letdown wasn't great. It was painful. Nothing was right. I was afraid of judgment from other people, and I was judging myself. I'd internalized all of these things that people say, that, you know, if you can't breastfeed, you're not a good mom. Culturally speaking, in Australia, and I could compare that to my home country, which is France, and is very different. And I'll mention this trip that I took when Leo was probably 6 months old, and I went by myself for 7 weeks over to France. And that's probably actually where I built up a little bit of self-efficacy, because in Australia, I was being told, yeah, you can't give up breastfeeding. He's only 6 months old. Like, what are you doing? You have to persist, you know. I landed in France, and all my friends and the older women and everything were like, okay, Jude, when are you going to stop this breastfeeding thing? Like, oh, you have to get your independence back. Like, you're a woman. You're not just you know, you can't have that. You have to have your life back. That's not what I hear over there. So basically, I have to do what feels right for me. But, you know, you still second guess yourself depending on your personality. But if you're a people's pleaser, it's challenging because you want to please everyone else. And I wish I'd just focused on, what do I want? What do I know is right for my son?
Can I just say about the feeding?
Yeah.
I totally, like you don't know what else to do. The breastfeeding thing is shoved down your throat. And I remember one night in particular, I think I started at 9 o'clock at night, put Drew on one boob, put it to the other boob. 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm still sitting on that couch. She's still crying. I'm crying. My husband comes out and he's just like, can I please go get a tin of formula? And I was like, no, formula's the devil. Because that's what I'd been led to believe, because it was breast is best. I used to cringe every time she would cry, and because I could feel that I had no milk. And I'd sit there for like half an hour to 45 minutes per breast, putting her back, and then she'd still cry. And then she got to the point where she was that tired and she wasn't like eating enough that she would just sleep, and I'd have to like wake her up. I went to go see a lactation consultant, and so we started a combination feeding, and it was her that watched me. And I recommend any new mum, that's another bit of advice. Even if you're breastfeeding or bottle feeding, go see a lactation consultant, because she worked wonders. She showed me different holds. She watched me. She just made me feel like I was doing a good job. And she was actually the one who said to me that the reason that I probably didn't have the milk is because I had a congenital deformity. I had tuberous breasts and I didn't have the breast tissue to make the milk. And I actually,
Wow.
yeah, so it wasn't because I didn't want to breastfeed, it's because I couldn't. And so we did the combination feeding for 4 weeks, and about 8 weeks I went to my mum's house, and she could tell I was still stressed. You know, breastfeed, bottle feed, then you go clean the bottles, and then you pump, and the next thing it's time to do it all over again. And my mum said to me, for God's sake, Alysha, just give her a bottle. And I didn't want to. And I still remember the last time I breastfed her, I cried because I thought I'd failed. And next morning I gave her a bottle of milk. She drank the whole thing, and I have never seen her so happy in that first 8 weeks. This was the first time we actually like interacted, and she looked happy, content. I was happy and content. So fed is best.
Yeah.
That's
Whatever
great.
works for you.
Mm.
Were there any challenges, just coming back to the Mummy Buddy program? So Jude, I know that your mum was going through some health issues and was struggling with sleep and that sort of thing. What were the trickiest parts of being a mentor for new mums?
For me, it was definitely the divergence of opinions about things. So it was hard because you do want sometimes to give your opinion, and that's not what the role is about. So sometimes you're just like, I can't, I promised and I signed a form that said I wasn't going to give my opinion. It was the most challenging part because, as I say, we're human and we just want to, especially if you see that something is going wrong, you know, but that's not the role. The role is to just accompany the person and you put your beliefs aside. That's it.
Alysha, how did you find, were there any challenges that you had?
With my mum, I didn't really experience any challenges. Like I said before, she had her mum over for the first 6 weeks. I really wanted to help, but she had all the help she needed. So I just kind of like stayed off in the background and just, yeah, like I said, I'd send a couple of messages here and there, just touching base, asking how she's going. Yeah, and then it wasn't until like a few months or like a couple of months old that's when she started asking questions. Is this normal? Is this okay? And, you know, I'd offer my advice from my experiences and just, you know, like if you want to breastfeed, yeah, go breastfeed. And then I would ask my friends, that's right. I actually asked one of my mother's groups. So I went and asked my mother's, because I didn't breastfeed. I didn't know, I couldn't help her in that aspect. So I went and asked one of my other friends from my mother's group what she did. And I went back to my mummy buddy and sort of gave her that bit of advice. You know, if I didn't know the answer, I would try and find something that would help her. If I hadn't experienced it myself, that was really the only challenge.
So lovely you could help her in that way. It's been great to have such an honest conversation with you both today. I do have one last question. How did the program change you as a mother?
The only way it changed me is that it made me realize that I need to listen to my own advice. that's the only thing, like on reflection, the things that I tell my mummy buddy, you know, do this, do that, you know, got to take time for yourself, be kind to yourself. Alysha, be kind to yourself. So yeah, I love being part of the Mummy Buddy, and I just love helping people. And if I helped my Mummy Buddy, then awesome. Like, I would do it again. I would totally do it again, just to know that I've helped somebody through some possibly dark days, being overwhelmed, not knowing what to do, feeling like you're banging your head against the wall, you're stuck in those four walls. Just if I can just help someone get through the day and get through this adjustment period, I loved it. It's such a good program.
It just made me want to get more and more involved in perinatal mental health, I suppose. And it helps me in my journey as a mom too, because just constantly connecting with other moms, we know that it's challenging. As Alysha said before, it's constantly changing. There's always a new phase, and you doubt yourself, and you're always, but yeah, it just that was my way of helping others. Completely helped me. Bit of a vocal parent, but that's what it made me. But definitely would do it again, no worries. And now actually, you know, I work in that space every week, so I see moms with babies and toddlers and help them through that journey, because I've had the same, so I know how it feels, and they're not alone.
It is so lovely to hear how your experience of being a mentor has led you to study and results in you now working with mothers. They are lucky to have you.
And for mums who are listening, if you, like Jude and Alysha, would like to support a new mum during the incredible transition to parenthood, or if you feel that you would benefit from having an experienced mum support you during this journey, register your interest for the Bamboo Perinatal Peer Support Program using the link in the description. Thank you.